Yesterday was the NBA draft lottery, and 14 teams had the chance for the number one overall pick. The Timberwolves won the lottery, followed by the Warriors and the Hornets. So, what should the Timberwolves do with their top pick?
Well, for me, it really depends on where D'Angelo Russell plays. Because if he's at point guard, then I think they should trade down for a 3 and D wing player like Devin Vassell. But if he's playing at the shooting guard, I think they should draft LaMelo Ball. And LaMelo Ball has great potential as a defender, and he has very good court vision. But the reason it wouldn't make sense for them to draft him if D'Angelo Russell was playing point guard is because LaMelo Ball would not be a very good shooting guard because of the fact that he can't shoot. He's really more suited to that court vision role like how Ben Simmons was this past year. And I don't think that they would want to draft Anthony Edwards because he's a very inconsistent shooter, and they already have a lot of disengaged players on defense. Anthony Edwards has the potential to be a lockdown defender, but I don't know if being with the Timberwolves will help him with his motor. And along with that guard, and they're really bad on the defensive side of the ball. And because of that, if they don't want to draft LaMelo Ball, I think they should trade down to like the 7th or 8th spot with the team like the Cavaliers, so that they can draft a player like Devin Vassell, who can be a starting. Not the Cavaliers, sorry, the New York Knicks, because Devin Vassell can be a starting small forward, and because of that, he'll be able to play. He'll be able to help the Wolves play better defense. And along with trading down to the 8th pick again for the New York Knicks, they can also get the extra asset when they do trade down.
Yeah, I don't really agree with you on your points, and I think the Timberwolves they're a really good team. They can score the ball really well. They have Karl-Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, and they have other players and role players who really stepped up in Juancho Hernan-Gomez and Malik Beasley. And what the Timberwolves need is more a defense. And Anthony Edwards is a great defender, and I think he can fit into that role well. And I think some more teams could draft him, like the Charlotte Hornets. They could possibly draft him. They probably want LaMelo Ball. So I think they could trade down and swap picks and get an extra asset and still draft their player in Anthony Edwards. So I think Anthony Edwards is a great fit for the Timberwolves because they don't really need for his offense to really be there because they already have great shooters, and even without him being an efficient scorer, he can still shoot the ball and he can still score. And I think the best thing about him is that he's a great defender. He gets almost 1.5 steals, a block per game, and he's still a great, good playmaker. He has 3 assists, and he also has 5 boards, and in college with Georgia. But and I think that's why the Timberwolves should draft Anthony Edwards because they don't really need more offense. I think they need more defense, and they can't really rely on LaMelo Ball to develop his defense in Minnesota, especially with the Warriors having their draft pick for next year. So they really have to make the playoffs or get close to the playoffs so that their draft pick isn't as valuable, so they can have a great future with this for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on the Anthony Edwards take. I think that Anthony Edwards, he's an inconsistent defender when you look at him on the tape. He has good stats, but his motor isn't that good, and I think that's a result of being on a bad team with not many good players. He had to carry the Georgia team on his back basically the entire season because he didn't have many players capable of playing at a high level in college along with him. And because of that, his defense was inconsistent. And I think that's the same thing that he'll do on a bad team like the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm not saying that they're going to be terrible, but players on bad teams tend to develop bad defensive habits and get lazy. And because of that, I think it's not going to help them on their defense. I think they'll need a very good defender like Devin Vassell after they trade down. if they want to get better on defense. Um, but I think LaMelo Ball. I think point guard is a position of need, and they've already stated that they will be looking at a point guard. So because I think LaMelo Ball could work as a good fit for them.
LaMelo Ball hasn't really been a great defender, with during the in these past years, and I don't know if they can really trust LaMelo Ball to become a great defender in this his rookie season. And I don't think they should really trade down for a player who is a 3 and D guy because like I said, they kind of need to win because they don't want to lose their valuable first round pick which is going to the Golden State Warriors next year, and I think they need to have a player like Anthony Edwards who's big and who's is a great defender, and his offense is kind of off, but I think he's still be a great player with other players like D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns, and I think where the position they are at right now, they kind of have to draft Anthony Edwards if they were maybe fifth or fourth. If they're drafting fourth or fifth, I think they could probably trade down a couple spots. But with the first overall pick, I think they should draft Anthony Edwards.
Well, obviously Anthony Edwards is probably the most coveted prospect in the draft. I think he's going to go number one, depending on the fit with the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're going to have to see.
Yeah, so we did see some jumps from teams like the Chicago Bulls and the the Charlotte Hornets jump up to the top five, and some others teams fall like the New York Knicks. And while it not be great for some are just in the perfect draft position to draft their player. So who's put in the perfect draft position for their needs?
Well, I think there's four teams that really got lucky in this draft. Some teams got what they were expected, like the Pelicans, but I think this will really help teams like them. And for my first team, I'm gonna have to go with the Chicago Bulls because getting a top four pick was not something that they expected to have, and they really just added. And getting a top four pick will really help them because they'll be able to add more talent around Zach LaVine, their best player. And because of this, if they find the right coach, I think they could definitely make the eighth seed in the playoffs. They'll definitely be in that race with the added talent. And for the New York Knicks, I think this is also a perfect draft position because they need a point guard. LaMelo Ball would have been a great addition for them, but they don't really necessarily need LaMelo Ball with so many other talented point guards on the board like Killian Hayes and Tyrese Halliburton. I think both of these players, at least one of these players, will be available for them with the eighth pick. And because of that, I think the Knicks are exactly where they want to be. Everyone wanted to be higher in the draft lottery, but this is perfect position for their need for a point guard. And for the Pelicans, I think this is very good for them because I think they can find a talent. I think there are going to be some prospects that slide down because of the needs that the teams before them have, especially talented wings, wings or bigs late in the lottery. And that is a position that they need to fill up on. And I think if they do take a wing or like a small forward or power forward, versatile player, I think that will really complete their roster so that they'll be in the playoff race next season. And finally, I'm going to choose the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics were not in the lottery because they're one of the top teams in the East, but they get this lottery pick from the Memphis Grizzlies. And that's because of a prior trade that they had where the Grizzlies had a top six protected pick, but they got the 14th pick, and because of that, the Celtics get it. And this is going to be great for the Celtics because they're already title contenders now, and along with that, because the Celtics have this pick, they can bring lottery talent to add to this title contender. So I think this is going to make them very dangerous in the East for years to come.
Yeah, I think we don't really know who's getting drafted at which position because in previous years, we've seen players in like the 2019, 2018 draft, we knew Zion was going first. We knew in 2018 that DeAndre Ayton was going first. And for this year, it's kind of different because we don't really know who is going first and who's going second. So it all depends on how this draft works out and who and which team drafts a certain player. So you don't really know until the draft day who's put in the perfect draft position. But I think a team or two teams that were put in the perfect draft position was the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now they weren't a great team last season and I think that was because of their head coaching job. But I think a perfect player for them is Obi Toppin. And he's a forward, and I think he can become that small forward and move Kevin Porter Jr. to the bench. They would have a starting five of Darius
I'm
Garland.
gonna have to disagree with you real quick because he's actually a power forward that plays center as a 6'9" power forward that can play center.
I think he can still play that small forward role with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But
I don't think so.
no, because no, you look at them. You look at uh, Obi Toppin, and he has a great frame, and he's a really big, and he also won the
Yeah,
National
but
Player of the Year.
that's not that. Yeah, I agree with you, and because of that, that's why he's a power forward or a center. I don't think he's a small forward because he's just too bulky and big for that.
I think that the Cavs do draft him. He will be a great player for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But like I was saying, he he is getting 20 points per game, and he's really stepped up his game this season at Dayton. And he's also a great defender. He's got a steal and almost 1.5 blocks per game. And he only has two turnovers on he has two turnovers on two assists. But you also got to realize he's not really a point guard. So he's going to have some weaknesses, and I think that's his weakness. But I think the Cleveland Cavaliers should draft Obi Toppin. And for the New York Knicks, I think they should draft like you said, Killian Hayes. And I think even though they are at number 8, the 8th pick, I think they can move up. And I think some teams like the Golden State Warriors or the Minnesota Timberwolves or even the Charlotte Hornets are willing to trade down because this year's draft class isn't a great draft class. And I think the New York Knicks can possibly go and get LaMelo Ball. But if they don't, they can get a guy like Killian Hayes, who's a great point guard, who they really need, because they don't really have a great backcourt because they have players like Mitchell Robinson and they have other players like Kevin Knox, who's a small forward. But I think for the New York Knicks, they really need a point guard. And with Leon Rose as the new um, president of basketball operation, I think this team can switch it around and hopefully have a great season this year.
Well, I agree with both of those points. I think Obi Toppin would be a great addition. I think he'll probably go with before the draft lottery. He was like a probably a top 4 pick, but now it can really depend based on which team needs what draft needs. I think he will be available for the Cavaliers, and they should jump on him at number 5. Number 8, like I said, they need a point guard, so either Tyrese Halliburton or Killian Hayes, whichever one's available. I think only one of them will be, but both of them are going to be great fits for the New York Knicks as they fill their need.